Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another segment of Hollywood Memories. I'm Dan Roberts, the publisher of The Vegas Voice, and my great job is to serve as co-host to my favorite columnist, Beverly Washburn. Thank you again.
My pleasure, Dan. Thank you so much. And thanks to all of you for tuning in. It means a lot to us.
We're going to introduce a new segment and a continuous segment for you, and that's going to be called Beverly Washburn and the many, many men in her life. Because one of the things that I have noticed over the course of reading all your articles is that you've worked with a tremendous amount of actors. And I would like to start with the one that you introduced me to, and that was the one that I said, oh my God, I love Beverly Washburn. And that was Superman, George Reeves.
Superman, that's right. I did the Superman and the Mole Men.
Right. And do you recall how old you were?
It was at the very beginning of my career. I think I was still around 6 or so. And of course, when I got the call to work on Superman, I was very excited because I had no idea who George Reeves was, but I did know who Superman was. So that was a thrill for me.
It has to be. I know that you weren't in the scene with Superman himself, but he was off screen and he was in his uniform.
Right, yeah. As you mentioned, we weren't in a scene together, but the fact that he was on the set and walking around, I was just so thrilled because I thought he really was Superman.
And you weren't, but you weren't nervous. You didn't ask him if he can fix something or fly or nothing like that.
I was just in awe. It was so thrilling for me to be that young and think that I'm with the real Superman.
No, of course he's the real Superman.
Of course.
And I guess he treated you very well again, you're a child.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was terrific. And the little for those of you who might have seen it, it was Superman and the Mole Men.
Right.
I was the little girl in the bedroom where the mole men climb in through the window and we start playing ball. And
yet, again, I mentioned it to you previously, when I first saw it, that episode scared the hell out of me. These little men, and yet you were never terrified of them, were you?
No, for some reason I thought they were cute. And I happened to be at an autograph show several years ago, and this very nice man came up to my table and he saw the photo with me sitting there on the floor with the mole men, and he said, I've seen that episode, and he said, I just want to ask you, he said, because we're about the same age, we grew up kind of at the same time, and he said, did those little men scare you?
Right.
Like you said.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I thought they were cute. And he says to me, and I quote, he said, well, they scared the crap out of me.
And again, it was just acting to you. It was just pretending, I should say, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but now you're with Superman in his costume, and yet you had the opportunity to work with George Reeves again.
Right. And it was a few months after that, ironically, I got cast in a TV show. It was 4-star Playhouse, I believe, and it was called Heart of Gold. And the parents were George Reeves and Anita Louise. And I played their daughter, and my brother was played by Tommy Reddick, who people will remember as the little boy Jeff on the series Lassie. Right. In fact, he told me that there was no Santa Claus, and I never forgave him for that. Anyway, I digress. So it was a very sweet story, and I wear this little heart locket, and there's a snowman outside, and Tommy, who played my brother, and we go out, and I put the locket into the snowman, and it comes to life. And he was played by Edmund Gwynn.
But your dad was?
George Reeves. But on the set, the crew, because they knew who he was, of course, I didn't, they would rib him, and tease him, and they would refer to him as Superman. And I was so young, I couldn't quite compute in my mind, like, why are they calling him Superman? So I asked my mother, why are they calling him Superman? So she said, well, honey, he really is Superman, but he's just play acting to be your father.
And that was good enough for you, huh?
Yeah. I was so relieved.
And yet, George Reeves always will be Superman,
yes.
no matter how many roles he did. And yet, he took it with grace, right? I mean, he wasn't angry at the crew for making fun of him.
No, he was a terrific man, and I had the pleasure years later of meeting Noel Neal, who played Lois Lane, and in Superman in the Moment, it was Phyllis Coates. So I got to know both of them because we had met at various Superman conventions, and I asked both of them on separate days what they thought happened to George Reeves, because his death was never really solved. And both of them, and they didn't know what the other one was going to say because they weren't together in the same room. Both of them said to me, he never would have committed suicide. He was very excited about a new prospect that he was putting together. And so both of them say, and they knew him, of course, a lot better than I did. I was just 6 when I met him. And both of them said that sadly, it was never solved.
It's tragic again to a superhero, Superman himself.
I know.
And, and speaking of superheroes, again, you go from Superman to the Lone Ranger.
I know.
With Clayton Moore. How did that come about?
Well, I went on the audition. I went to read for it. And again, I was a fan of the Lone Ranger. So that, to me, was the thrill, to be able to work with the Lone Ranger. And actually, a couple years ago, I was fortunate. I got to meet his daughter, Dawn. And little did I know when I was, I guess I was 10 or 11, that all these years later that I would actually meet his daughter. It was very exciting for me.
And Clayton Moore himself, good guy, bad guy? Did he treat you well? Did he smack you around?
He'd smack me around.
But I mean, you sound like he was also just a gentleman, a very nice guy.
I know, he was terrific. And people always say to me, well, how come you say everybody's wonderful? They can't all be wonderful. But honestly, Dan, I was very blessed to have worked with some of the nicest people. And it almost seems like the bigger star they were, the nicer they were. And he was terrific. And for me, it was a thrill not only to be with the Lone Ranger, but Tonto.
Well, you know what? I'm going to save Tonto for later, but Clayton Moore himself, he had something in his contract that he always had to wear the mask. Talk a little bit about that.
Exactly. He had it in his contract that he was never allowed to be photographed without his mask. And so one weekend, we filmed most of it in Kanab, Utah, and the rest of it was filmed on the set at Warner Brothers Studios. As I mentioned, he was never allowed to be photographed without his mask on. And so this one weekend, we were at this motel in Kanab, Utah, where most of it was filmed. And we had the day off, so everybody was hanging out at the pool. Well, Clayton Moore was swimming in the pool, of course, without his mask on, he was swimming. And a fan happened to recognize him. So she asked him if she could have his autograph. So he said, yes, one moment. So he quickly ran over and got his mask and put it on and stood there and posed. But to me, I was like, 10 or 11, and it was comical to me because here I'm seeing this man standing in his swimming trunks and a mask. It was the Lone Ranger mask because he wasn't allowed to be photographed without it.
There was a scene or an event that involved the Lone Ranger, which I'm sure you remember.
And you remember. Yeah, it was pretty funny. We were on location in Kanab, and at the end of the scene, he jumps on Silver and rides off into the sunset. Well, his Lone Ranger costume was quite tight. And so when he got on Silver to ride off, his pants split in the back, and he wasn't aware of it. And so the director, I guess he wanted to keep it as an outtake or just, be funny. So he told them to keep rolling. So anyway, so the Lone Ranger jumps on the horse, and he's riding off with his pants split open and his bare butt was hanging out. And so the conversation for the rest of the film, every day, the crew would rib him and, tease him about the fact that there was the Lone Ranger riding off into the sunset while he was mooning everybody.
And as a little girl, were you embarrassed?
I was embarrassed. I mean, it was funny, but I was a little embarrassed. But the crew thought it was pretty funny.
And so did you,
I do now, yeah.
So you worked with the Lone Ranger, and then you also worked with Tonto, and that was Jay Silverheels.
Yes, very nice man. Very soft-spoken, very quiet, very gentlemanly, and it was really an honor to meet him as well.
And again, when you worked with Clayton Moore and Jay Silverhills, they were all very nice to you, huh?
They were. But, then again, I was a little girl. It would be horrible if they were mean to a child.
Well, no, not even a question of mean, but they ignored you or they just patted you on the head and said, leave me alone. Or, they didn't do any of that.
No, they were just kind and welcoming and helpful. And, we'd rehearse the scenes first, and they were always very complimentary and sweet. I mean, it wasn't like we hung out together.
I understand.
Went out for a drink afterward or anything.
Yeah, right.
But it was just a thrill for me.
And you have so many stories. Luckily for us, they're all in your book, Real Tears.
Thank you.
If somebody wants to purchase this book and get it, how do they go about doing it?
It's available on Amazon. Just go to Amazon.com and order it. And then if you are kind enough to do that and you want me to sign it, I'd be happy to if you just send it to the Vegas Voice. And I'll send it back to you at no charge.
No charge.
No
There
charge.
you go. And I know you do that because we get the request all the time.
Thank you.
We're going to have some more segments with, again, the many, many men in your life. And again, I thank you for letting me co-host it with you. I really
thank
appreciate
you, Dan.
it.
I appreciate it. And thanks to all of you for watching. It means a lot.
And this is Dan Roberts and Beverly Washburn for Hollywood Memories saying we'll see you again soon.